So Markit today publishes the service sector PMI for the UK, and the index is down somewhat. It's down to the weakest since June. But we've got to put this in context. The number's been very buoyant in recent months. It's still signalling super strong growth in the service sector. So while some disappointment that the rate of growth might be easing, we're reassured that the pace of expansion is remaining very firm. This service sector downturn contrasts with stronger growth in manufacturing and construction. So the other PMIs are increasing. The service sector is bigger, so that offset some of those improvements. So overall, we're suggesting that the pace of economic growth has moderated somewhat in November compared to October. But over the fourth quarter as a whole so far, the PMIs are still at a record high level despite this easing. So what does this mean for GDP? GDP grew 0.8% in the third quarter. With this strong fourth quarter so far, we're looking at a reading possibly above 1%. So very strong growth in the overall economy. One of the interesting things that we've seen beyond those headline output numbers is an upturn in the rate of growth of new business. So inflows of new orders into all three sectors, manufacturing, service and construction, are growing at a very strong pace. Now, this record rate of growth we saw in November is encouraging companies to take on more staff. So we're now looking at levels of employment rising by around 140,000 per quarter, given these PMI readings. That's very strong employment growth. That's going to eat into the unemployment rate quite significantly. There's lots of talk about this upturn being generated largely by the consumer spending more and the housing market. And these surveys saying, yes, they're contributory factors, but what we're also seeing is a more broad-based, more sustainable-looking upturn. The growth in employment should help consumer spending further, but it's beyond that. We're looking at businesses getting more confident to invest more. We're seeing strong growth in business-to-business services as well as consumer services. We're seeing strong growth in things like commercial construction, so companies building more offices and workplaces. So a very good impression of a robust, self-sustaining recovery is in place. Well, this is a final piece of good news for the Chancellor ahead of the autumn statement, of course. We're expecting that statement to include upwardly revised GDP forecasts for this year and next, and also some much better news on the deficit reduction. Economic growth, of course, brings more tax revenues and also cuts the welfare bill. So good news all round, really, in respect to the Chancellor's autumn statement.